We are chugging along this Sex and the City reboot train. Today we are recapping episode 6 of And Just Like That, titled Diwali. We start the episode out with Carrie and Anthony looking at apartments for her to potentially buy and move into, which confuses me since they made such a big hoopla out of Carrie walking back to her old Sex and the City apartment after Big died, but maybe that wasn't the big symbolic returning of the prodigal wasp I thought it was. Seema's on the phone talking about Diwali with her father, who looks exactly the same age as her. The three ladies meet up for dinner, and I gotta say, with the reaction Carrie had to the Che, Miranda, kitchen ganja sex apocalypse, I'm really surprised they're all just like sitting here having moved on, talking about which apartment Carrie should move into.
And think of that cool breeze off the water while the rest of us are sweating inland.
And that's not a breeze, that's Paramus.
Okay, I had to Google Paramus. Turns out it's the name of a New Jersey suburb. Any New Yorkers watching this, is Paramus like the bowl of New York or something? Back at Charlotte's place, she is struggling to deal with her woke children and their desires to control how their own bedroom is decorated. I gotta be honest, besides not putting up obviously inappropriate like Satan or something, my parents had zero input into how I decorated my childhood room. And my parents are a couple of religious fundies, so Charlotte having to control how her kids decorate their room is really tight anusy. Which makes sense, because that's like probably a great way to describe Charlotte. Meanwhile, Miranda's going through that glorious, I just had my first queer sexual experience and maybe haven't washed my body in a couple weeks so that I can keep reminding myself how they smelled, period. Not gonna lie, I identify hardcore with this. After my first queer sexual experience, I kind of just stared off into space for 4 weeks and just was like, what's that? What? You need a pencil? I just had gay sex. Nobody cares about your pencil, Mark. Seema takes Carrie to an Indian dress shop because she needs an outfit for Diwali.
Let's get you a sari.
Is that allowed?
You're wearing it to a traditional celebration at my family home. That's not cultural appropriation, that's cultural appreciation.
Well said, Seema. Fun fact about me and my partner, she sometimes likes to take me to fancy Indian weddings, throw a traditional Indian outfit on me, and put a traditional Western suit on her, and watch people as they go back and forth between us trying to decide what the is going on stylistically. Naya and her husband meet another couple out for dinner, and she doesn't want to talk about babies. So every time the other woman is about to speak, Naya interrupts her in an effort to avoid talking about babies. Probably a better approach would be to like pull this woman aside and be like, hey, we're really struggling here. Could you just like not talk about babies for 5 seconds? But that's really not real life, and this is actually probably exactly what would happen in real life, because it's hard to have frank conversations like that. And I have a feeling having a conversation like that would probably offend the other woman. So this was actually a really interesting, realistic scene from my standpoint. Miranda wants to take a fantasy ride on the old Che Expressway, but her son has no to give. It was bad enough we had to listen to Miranda reenacting the victims from Texas Chainsaw Massacre last episode while Che was banging her, but now we have to watch her actually speak with her son while she's climaxing. My voice can't even go high enough to reach my shock. Can you not, like, pause, tell your kid the relevant thing, and then go back to finishing? You don't just barrel through anything, even your grandma knocking on your door saying, honey, it's time for dinner. What we've really learned about Miranda in this reboot is that she has, like, very few sexual boundaries when it comes to other people witnessing her sexual escapades.
It was the most alive that I have felt in years.
It is an affair. That's what it is.
It is not an affair. It was a finger.
It is not an affair. It was a finger. Oh, wow. I did not see this devolving into a finger banging doesn't count as cheating conversation, but here we are. Yes, Miranda, any insertion of any appendage by anyone who's not your partner is in fact cheating. Oh, it doesn't count because it's gay sex. What? Okay. You just said it was the most incredible sex you've ever had. Are you like, it doesn't count because it was too good? It's like saying you don't have to include donuts in your calorie count because they're too delicious. You have to include them extra because they're extra delicious.
But you spent your whole life with men, and now you're suddenly having non-binary sex.
I love how Charlotte differentiates sex like it's a diet. Like, you've been a gluten-free vegan your whole life, and now you're just inserting all the bacon. Charlotte accuses Miranda of not being progressive enough to be with Che, and it really reminded me of the opening scene of episode 1, where Charlotte tells Miranda her gray hair is aging her, and Miranda fires back, "No, my gray hair is aging you." Miranda quite obviously is progressive enough to be with Che. I mean, she already got with Che. It's Charlotte here who's questioning whether she is progressive enough to have friends like Miranda and Che and a child like Rock. The final act of this episode finds Carrie walking down the front steps of her New York City apartment, dressed to the nines in traditional Indian wear. Considering this episode was titled Diwali, I was very surprised when we got about 30 seconds of Seema and Carrie at the party, and then it immediately cut to the two of them in a town car after the party. It's kind of like inviting somebody over for dinner, and then when they get there, just handing them a glass of water and a bowl of nuts. Like, we kind of expected some fun Diwali. Where's the fun Diwali? Where's the scenes of the beautiful colors and the celebration? It was like so dark, and it was just like so short, and it really had nothing to do at all with the episode. I was just so weird that they chose that as the title. And the episode ends with Carrie deciding to sell this new place she's just bought with Seema and return to her old New York City apartment. Was this a rerun? Because, like, what was the point of this whole episode? We're supposed to feel as though Carrie has resolved her living situation, but I don't. Because all she had to do was, like, not buy that place in the first place. Obviously, nothing has been resolved as far as the Chambo thing goes, and they barely talked about the huge affair in the kitchen while Carrie was recovering thing. Them not discussing it more thoroughly than, like, a 3-minute kind of towards the end of the episode conversation just made no sense to me. Really, the only resolving we got from an audience standpoint was with Charlotte and Rock, which I wish we could have seen more of that. More of why Charlotte decided to give in and let Rock cut their hair and put those posters up. The last we saw as an audience, Harry was the one out of the two of them having a more difficult time dealing with all these changes with the pronouns and everything. Where was Harry in all this? Overall, I was disappointed with this episode. I was expecting some fun Diwali stuff. Didn't get that, and also didn't get anything super compelling in its place. But what do you think? Am I judging the writers too harshly? Was this the right time for a fluffy, non-consequential filler episode? Or did you too wonder what the hell you just wasted 40 minutes of your life on? All right, I'm gonna be back with a movie review for the end of this week. As always, thank you so much for supporting me and the channel. I'm Amanda, this is my Really Gay YouTube channel, and I will see you next video.